Welcome back to Man with a Wok, where today we're venturing into the heart of Vietnam. I'm Kwoklyn, and this episode is a special journey to Hanoi, embracing the fresh, vibrant flavors of Vietnamese cuisine with a twist. We're going vegan. Vietnamese food is celebrated for its use of fresh herbs, crisp vegetables, and complex flavors, making it perfect for a plant-based feast. So let's dive into the lush greenery of Vietnamese cooking and bring the essence of Hanoi's streets to our home with 3 delectable vegan dishes. Our first dish is Pho Chay, the vegan version of Vietnam's beloved noodle soup. This dish captures the essence of traditional pho with a broth that's rich in spices and aromatics, but we'll be loading it with vegetables and tofu for a hearty, plant-based twist. Pho Chay is about building layers of flavour from the cinnamon star anise in the broth to the fresh herbs and lime squeezed on top. Join me as we create this comforting bowl of noodles, perfect for any time of day. I'm pretty sure we've all heard of pho, but it's actually pronounced pho. To make this dish super special, we have to spend a little bit of time making a stock. Don't get me wrong, the Chinese soups are fantastic, and these are the ones that I'm used to eating, especially growing up as a child, and they're the ones that I'm used to making. Pho has a really complex soup base, and it's got lots of spices through it. You char off certain ingredients to try and get that caramelization even before you add the water or the soup base. So this is what we're going to start off with today. So just chop your onion in half, which will be fine. If you've noticed, I've just tried to keep the root on a little bit because I want to try and char this area. So I'm just going to take off this outer layer of papery skin because we don't need that. And you can see that the onion holds together because I've still got part of the root on. I'm just going to use a couple of garlic cloves. I am going to leave these whole, but what I will do is give them a little crush, which will start to release some of that oil that's in the garlic. And then we'll just take off again this papery skin. Now, working in Chinese restaurants and takeaways my entire life, I was so used to cooking really quickly. And my wife, Jo, she says that I'm a frantic cook. And I really am a frantic cook. Normally, if I'm cooking a dish, after the prep has happened, the dish comes together in literally a couple of minutes. This dish in particular has taught me to slow things down a little bit, because the only way you're going to extract those amazing flavors from the star anise, the cinnamon, the cardamom, the coriander seeds, is to give it a little bit of time and just let it mingle into the soup base. I am going to char off my tofu now as well. I only need a couple of pieces. So I'm going to take maybe 3 slices. Now this is medium tofu. As you can see, it's still quite spongy. This, I can't use that if I'm completely honest. So I'm just going to grab another piece of tofu. I squeeze too hard. But I can use that in another dish, so that's not wasted. So I'll put that to one side. Just going to grab another piece of tofu out. So this is the medium firm variety. But ideally, I'd probably say you want to use the firm. So again, I'm just going to try and take a couple of slices off this, and then we're just going to try and char it ever so slightly. I can get it back in here, and it's just suspended in a little bit of water. This will sit now in my fridge for around about 5 to 6 days, and it should be absolutely fine. This is my camping griddle. And as you can see, it's got a fold away handle so it can pack away in my camper van. But I am going to use it today, and then we're going to char off this onion. And again, the reason I'm charring the onion and the garlic is to get that caramelization, to get those natural sugars out of this product, because this is what's going to go and flavour my soup in a second. If you hover your hand over the pan, you're about to feel the heat. I've used this technique my entire cooking life, which started at a very, very young age. And it just tells me my pan's getting nice and hot now. Again, I'm just gonna try and caramelize this ingredient now. And I'm just gonna try and get a little bit of color on this tofu. Now, it's a playing game now, just trying to control that heat, because of course I want the charring, I want that black colour, but I don't want to burn it completely, otherwise it will become quite bitter. You see, look, see how I'm starting to get a little bit of colour on there now. Let's see how my tofu is doing. Hopefully it's not sticking too much. Oh yeah, a nice little bit of colour on there. And I'm just going to keep turning these now just to get that caramelisation, a little bit of burning, just a little tiny bit of burning, because I do want those sugars. I am just going to char the back of this onion as well. So yeah, that's all the colour that I need on my tofu. Again, this is more about presentation for the tofu than flavour. Now that my tofu's cooked, my onion and garlic is caramelising, I'm also just going to caramelise my broccoli. I'm not going to cook my broccoli in boiling water. I'm just going to I'll pop it into the stock just for a couple of minutes. But I'm just going to start it in this griddle while I've got it nice and hot. One of the things you will notice that when you cook your broccoli like this, it starts with, I guess it's not really a pale green, but it's definitely lighter. But when you put it into the heat, it turns this pale green into a bright, vibrant green. Really makes you want to eat it. I quite like this pan. It's not bad, it's doing its job. It'd be nice with a bit of salmon on there. Or some fish with the skin on it. Make that skin really crispy, like a bit of sea bass. Oh. Right, I'm just gonna move this off the heat and then we can start to dry fry our aromats. Now, the temptation in Chinese cooking is to cook everything at high heat. What we don't want to do is burn our aromats or our spices. So I'm going to turn the heat to a medium-high, which in this particular cooker is between a 7 and 8. I'm now going to add my cinnamon stick. I have some star anise, some cloves, there's 3 cloves going in, and a cardamom pod, and we have some coriander seeds. And I'm just gonna let these cook for around about 10 to 15 minutes now, just to brown off and get all toasty and release some of those natural oils that we find in these spices. So I've got a little bit of red pepper, and this was just leftovers from my fridge. I've got a bit of carrot left over, so I'm gonna chop this into a julienne as well, or into strips. Of course, we've got some of our bean sprouts which are going to go on. Now, for the background heat, we're going to use a little bit of red chilli, and I'm just going to drop these in half but diagonally, lay them on top of the bowl and then pour the hot soup over the top. I can of course eat around the chilies, or you can, if you like raw chili, and especially you like that spicy kick, you can eat them as well. I am going to leave the greens on because I think it looks lovely. So you see I've just chopped them diagonally in half. And then I need a little bit of ginger just for the soup base. So I'm just going to take the outer skin off of the piece that I'm using. I need about 1 inch of ginger, which is going to give it that fantastic background heat. Pop these back in my fridge now. And I'm also going to finish the dish just with a little touch of lime. So I just need time to add my charred onion and my charred garlic. And then in goes some of this boiling water. Now you can, of course, use a vegetable bouillon or even a homemade vegetable stock. I'm using the good old classic vegetable stock cube. And in goes my stock cube. I'm gonna add 2 actually. And we're gonna bring this back to the boil, and then we need to let it sit and simmer for at least 30 minutes, and even better if you can leave it for around about an hour. as the steam is billowing out of this pan, I'm really getting a strong kick of star anise and cinnamon, which are synonymous with Chinese kitchens that I've worked in. All right, we get this down to a simmer. We can go for a cup of tea and give this about half an hour. It's been about 40 minutes and I don't think any of us can wait any longer. So those depths of flavours now, with the cardamom especially is coming through, and the cinnamon and star anise. There's that sweetness. I've not added any sugar to this dish yet, but that sweetness is definitely coming from the onion and the garlic. But I am going to adjust ever so slightly. So in goes a little bit of light soy sauce. And you have to do this by eye. So trust your instincts. Now remember guys, it's easier to add more than to try and take away. I do like a little bit of sweetness in the soups, so I'm going to add just a little touch more sugar. And before I add any salt at all, because I've added the soy, I need to try the soup again. It doesn't need any extra salt at all. That soup has got so many levels of flavour, the depth is unreal. So we now need to just soften our noodles. Water's up to the boil, in go my rice noodles. These will take about 2 to 3 minutes depending on the thickness of the rice noodle you like. You can go into lots of these for restaurants and you can either get the thin noodles, you can get the slightly medium thick noodles, or you can get the fat rice noodles as well. Now, I'm going to use my smallest sieve I have, and there's a reason for this, which I'll show you in a second. So in go my rice noodles. Now to stop the rice noodles from cooking any further, and because we're going to add the hot soup, I'm just going to rinse them under cold water for a second. This will also help avoid the noodles from sticking together too much. So just a quick rinse under cold water. And they're now ready. And I'll place my noodles just into the bottom of my bowl. Now, the reason I'm using my little sieve is because you have two options now. You can either strain your soup to remove all the pieces, or I'm just going to pop my sieve just in the top. I'm going to finish just cooking my broccoli in the top of that sieve now. It will only take about a minute because I charred them earlier and I just want to revive the heat into the broccoli and just to make sure they're nice and soft when we eat. So I've just taken my broccoli out. As you can see, it's this beautiful, vibrant green colour now. And now it's time to build this dish. So a couple of pieces of broccoli in here. In go a little bit of chilli. My tofu pieces that we charred. A little pinch of bean sprouts. Just a couple of pieces of red pepper. And of course, some of my carrot just over the top. Now I'm going to use the sieve and I'm just going to grab the soup from the sieve so I don't get any of those pieces in here. And I'm going to pour this beautifully aromatic, rich broth over my noodles and my vegetables. On go, just a tiny pinch of coriander and a wedge of lime. And here's my nod to a vegan pho dish. You know what? I am going to give it a go now. Personally, I really do think that you're just not going to achieve these kind of flavours in any of the restaurants that I know you can go to. Gotta give this one a go, guys. It's so aromatic. All of those flavors coming out. And then this is the bit that I was really looking forward to, was that squeeze of lime over the top, which is just gonna change the flavor even more now. It's that fresh lime coming through. It's a different dish again. It's so, so nice. And that broth is amazing. Literally, I could sit with that at night instead of a cocoa and have a cup of Vietnamese broth. So nice. Pho Chay offers a delightful plant-based twist on the classic pho, packed with flavour and perfect for a comforting meal any time of the day. Next up, we're tackling the iconic Banh Mi, but with a vegan makeover. Banh Mi Chay is a testament to the power of fresh ingredients and bold flavours, packed into a crispy baguette. We'll fill ours with marinated tofu, pickled vegetables, sriracha sauce, and jalapenos for that extra kick. This sandwich is a harmony of textures and tastes, capturing the vibrant street food spirit of Hanoi. Let's get toasty and craft the ultimate vegan banh mi. I love the fact that the Vietnamese have a dish that's based around my favourite ingredient, the baguette. This is freshly baked this morning. We're gonna put some amazing flavours in here. We're gonna create this fabulous pickle using white and orange carrots. We're gonna marinate our tofu. We're then gonna layer it with cucumber. We're gonna finish it off with all our favourite sauces. And then we're gonna get to eat it in a bread roll. I can't wait. We're gonna start off by marinating our tofu. It needs about 15 to 20 minutes before we can create the dish. Then we're gonna create a lovely pickle using daikon or white carrot and an orange carrot. And then we're gonna fill our sandwich with all of our favorite fresh vegetables and salad bits. Let's start with the marinade. I'm gonna grab my pan, and in here, I'm going to add some light soy sauce for that umami and salty flavor. This stuff here is not only good for pancakes, it's also fantastic on tofu. So in goes my maple syrup, along with a little touch of sourness from this white vinegar. And lastly, for those fresh aromats or that fresh zing, we've got some garlic and ginger. That's just 1 clove of garlic and a little tiny nub of ginger. And we're just gonna mix those flavors together, and we're just gonna sit our medium firm tofu in this just to suck up those flavors. So being very careful now, we're just going to chop roughly a 1 centimeter thick tile of tofu. So it's just like that. And we're gonna place that very gently into our marinade. Now, depending on how big your baguette's going to be, is dependent on how many slices of tofu we're going to need. And in my case, I think it's gonna be about 6. And I've got 1 slice left, so I might as well make it 7. Now we just need to try and coat this tofu. So very carefully now, I'm just gonna flip each piece over so both sides have been exposed to this delicious marinade, which is gonna be salty, it's gonna be sweet, it's going to be sour, and then we've got the hints of those fresh aromats from garlic and ginger. There's our tofu marinating now. Each piece has been covered with that marinade. That can go to one side for about 20 minutes. Now to make our pickling juice. Now in here we have some water, some rice vinegar. Now you could technically use a apple cider vinegar, but the rice vinegar is less harsh, I find. So if you can get hold of it, please do try. we have some sugar and just a pinch of salt. I'm just going to get my spoon and we'll give that a quick mix. And we're just going to mix this until that sugar and salt dissolves. And now for our daikon. So I'm going to want about that much. And I'm just going to take off just the outer skin. Now I want to chop this as thinly as possible. So nice thin. And once we have our stacks, I'm just going to julienne these nice and thin again. We're just going to peel our carrot. And I roughly want to chop the carrots to the same length. So again, just take off your first piece and then chop the remainder into thin tiles. Okay, right, we'll just give these a quick mix. And you see we've got this beautiful, thinly shredded carrot mix. In that goes to our vinegar mix. And then we've got to make sure that every single strand is now covered in that vinegar mix. Now this is going to take about another 15-20 minutes. And every 5 minutes, I'm just going to toss those carrots through that vinegar. Now that's had a good 15-20 minutes now. Now for the filling. I'm going to add just a few slices of cucumber. I'm going to shred some lettuce. Just a quick tip about shredding lettuce. I find it easier if I roll my lettuce leaves into a cigar. And then I finely chop, just like I did with the carrots earlier. And I get a lovely fine shred of lettuce. I've got some jalapenos, a little bit of spice, but then also as well, I've got that tartness, you know, the sourness from the vinegar. Get this on nice and warm. This time I'm going to add just a little tiny bit of oil. And get it nice and hot. And then I'm just going to char just the edges of the tofu. And while that's getting hot, I can get my baguette ready. Yum, 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 yum. Chef's perks, as we like to say. About there. I'm just going to slice this along this side. Be careful your fingers, obviously, if you're holding the bread in your hand. I'm going to go near enough all the way through. I'm going to build my sandwich in there in a second. Now to caramelize our tofu. Oh, can you smell that? It smells great. That's that maple syrup. Now to build my favourite bit. I'm going to add some shredded lettuce across the bottom. I'm going to take some of these beautiful pieces of marinated tofu. And then let's grab some of this pickled carrot. It's so fresh. And the crunch is going to add to the texture of this sandwich. So over goes my pickled veg. And then we have just a couple of pieces of my jalapeno. We have, of course, some cucumber. And not forgetting, you've got to add just a little touch of chili sauce over the top. And there we have it. My vegan banh mi, ready for a huge bite, which I will do after we've got some shots. Banh Mi Chay is a delightful vegan twist on the classic Vietnamese sandwich, proving that plant-based ingredients can create a dish that's just as satisfying and flavorful as the original. To round off our vegan Vietnamese feast, we'll prepare Goi Cuon Chay, fresh spring rolls filled with an abundance of greens, vermicelli noodles and tofu, all wrapped in a delicate rice paper. These rolls are all about freshness and crunch, served with a flavorful peanut dipping sauce that's sure to please. Goi Cuon Chay is not just a dish, it's a celebration of Vietnam's bounty, fresh, light and perfect for sharing. Summer rolls are, in my opinion, one of the best sharing dishes that you can have when you've got friends over or family. Once you've got all the ingredients prepped and on the table, your guests then have a sit down and we roll our own summer rolls with exactly the ingredients that we like to eat. Once you've got all the prep done, which you could do well in advance and just pop into the fridge covered with a bit of cling film. And then when your guests arrive, everything's ready and you have this fantastic sharing platter where it's very interactive for your guests and they can come along and roll their own summer rolls. As you can see, I've got things that I like again. So I've got a little bit of red pepper, some tofu, carrots. This noodle isn't rice noodle. This is bean thread noodle, which is made from mung beans. And it has quite a unique texture. It snaps in the mouth as you eat it. And it's used quite a lot in Vietnamese cooking, especially the Vietnamese fried spring rolls with minced pork and chicken. But it makes such a nice ingredient or filling for the summer rolls that we're making today. Now for the dipping sauce, you can of course use sriracha, sweet chili, soy sauce, or anything you like. This dipping sauce is quite special, I think. So we have some smooth peanut butter here. Now to add some maple syrup. We have some light soy sauce. This is going to give it that umami and the saltiness, and hoisin sauce. Again, it's got, the hoisin's going to have that 5-spice, star anise, cinnamon, all of those amazing flavors. And we just give this a quick stir. Now, as you can probably see, this is quite thick at the moment and not really a dipping sauce. So it's at this point now, we could add just a little bit of warm water. So this is not boiling water, this is just warm. And this just loosens that dipping sauce. And just keep adding that warm water until you get the consistency that you like. Let's give this a quick taste. So that's nutty. It's got that saltiness, but the umami coming through. Now we can pimp this right up just with a little squeeze of fresh lime juice. Now we should get that zing now, which just cuts through that peanut. That's so nice. Okay, there's my dipping sauce made. Now the fun thing about this dish is teaching your guests how to roll, which is what we're going to do now. Get yourself a plate with a slight lip. You can of course use a large bowl. And then we're just going to add some warm water. Just enough to cover the bottom. Now these are rice paper sheets and they feel quite plasticky. But what happens is that when we place them into the water, they will start to soften. And we're just going to dip both sides. Now you can either do this on a clean, damp dishcloth or a wooden chopping board's fine as well. I'm just going to put a little bit of water on here. Hopefully that'll stop it from sticking. And just as that water is trying to penetrate the rice paper sheet, we can start to build. So I'm going to get some of this mung bean noodle. And we're just going to approximately fill our wrapper. So it's just in the center, but towards me. Some of this cucumber. A few pieces of my red pepper. Some of this lovely soft tofu. And just put down the center. A little bit of carrot. And now for the fresh herbs. Nice big sprig of coriander. Just taking this edge closest to you, I'm just going to pinch it over and pull to make a cylinder. And then fold over my edges. Roll. We have our first summer roll. Building a summer roll isn't just about the ingredients, it's about the experience. I think summer rolls are the perfect dinner party dish because everyone gets to be part of the creation process. Gather around the table, choose from a variety of fillings and roll your own masterpiece. It's hands-on, fun and wonderfully creative. There's something truly special about sharing a meal where everyone contributes a part of themselves. So let's roll, wrap and enjoy together. Now I've rolled a couple, I think I'm just going to have to experiment with some of the leftovers that I have in my fridge. So I'm just thinking just a little bit of iceberg lettuce for that crispness and freshness. Just tear off a little bit of this. I have some bean sprouts, which I'll pop there. And some leftover bamboo shoots. Bamboo shoots are going to add a really nice crisp texture to this dish. Right, let's grab my chopper. Look, that's exactly how you want it to look. So I think that looks pretty. Crispy, peanutty, salty, yummy. Goi Cuon Chay offers a refreshing and healthy option, perfect as an appetizer or a light meal, and is a wonderful way to celebrate the simplicity and freshness of Vietnamese ingredients. Our culinary tour of Hanoi has brought us through the aromatic lanes of Pho Chay, down the bustling streets with Banh Mi Chay, and into the fresh gardens of Goi Cuon Chay. Each vegan dish has offered a glimpse into the heart of Vietnamese cuisine, showcasing how simple plant-based ingredients can create a feast for the senses. As we wrap up this episode, I hope you're inspired to explore the fresh and fragrant world of Vietnamese cooking in your own kitchen. Join us next time on Man with a Wok as we dive into the bustling hawker centres of Singapore, a true melting pot of culinary traditions, from the iconic Hainanese chicken rice to the irresistible char kway teow. We'll explore how Singapore street food captures the essence of its multicultural heritage. So grab your wok and let's get ready to experience the vibrant, diverse flavours of Singaporean cuisine. See you in the kitchen. We finally finished shooting this episode. Now to enjoy the spoils of my hard work.